Yeah, I'm good. That's how you know I'm good. I've got a billion tabs open, so I've got a billion stories to discover. And all I'm going to say is, I fucking told you guys. I told you guys this shit was not going to be it. I told you guys from the start that this was a mess. Never, like, honestly, guys, like, I don't. There's a desire to be kind to people, and I'm not very kind to people, especially not people in politics, right? But they didn't have to make it this difficult. It did not have to be this way. Genuinely. I saw, yeah, Ted Cruz did say something half sensible today. Jesus Christ, man. What is, like. First of all, the conference is in Liverpool. If this, your party conference happens, right, you guys would be sending me to Liverpool. So, you know, I'll be setting up some sort of GoFundMe or something if you guys are serious about me going to conference. But I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what. It's gonna be feisty. It's gonna be feisty if I go, because this lot are just this is like, honestly, it's just this is the vibe I get from these people, and I'll be discussing other topics then going into the main one in a bit, but honestly, guys, it is we have fallen into this territory right here.
You are not a clown. You are the entire circus.
That's the territory we've ended up in. You know, you are not a clown. You are the entire circus. Genuinely, guys, I'm just baffled. I'm baffled that this lot are this dumb. The your party stuff. It's been unraveling this week, and I tell you what, it's funny how bad it is. Like, that's how shambolic it is, guys. I can't. Words cannot explain. I do not have the facilities to explain to you how much of an shambles it is. It's a complete mess. It's a complete mess. You know, it's bad. I've had a couple of days to process it as well, and it is bad. Well, I can tell you now. You know, if I, you know, like me, like Zara Sultana is not that much older than me. She's 31, right? I'm 29. I would not be comfortable doing, you know, I'd be nervous about being an MP for a start, which is, you know, it's brave of her to go for that role at such a young age, right? But I would not be confident in my abilities to set up a new party, especially in the way they've done it. I told you guys, a co-leadership structure is utter woke nonsense. That's what that is. It's a woke nonsense. You can't have a co-leadership structure. It doesn't work. You have to have, it has to be a single person who guides the team. You know, and if you're not happy with that person, you can replace them by all means. I'm hoping Labour replace Starmer. You know, I'm hoping so, because he's an idiot. He's not very good at this. His team are shockingly bad. His team suck. You know, these are the people who couldn't sell water in the desert. That's who these people are. But I don't know. Maybe it does show you why Corbyn fumbled so badly in 2017. You know, they talk a lot about, you know, the party being against him in that Labour thing. But, you know, I guess the real question is, what did Corbyn do to unite the party? You know, what did he do to try and either push these people out of the party or try and get them to play ball? Because from what I remember, he didn't do it, and I think this really highlights his lack of leadership credentials, fundamentally. So, I think he kind of got off quite easy because of the fact that we blamed the Labour right back in 2017, and I think justifiably so. But I think serious questions need to be asked about Corbyn's kind of leadership credentials, because it's very easy to be a backbencher and to protest. It is very difficult to go in the trenches and lead. And I don't think he's ever been the kind of guy who could do that. And I think this has highlighted it. You know, why he's done, you know, why he's made the decisions he's made, I don't know. Genuinely. But we're going to start with Starmer. We'll go talk about Starmer's thing, and then we're going to go discuss the Your Party stuff in a bit. So I found this article from Pippa quite interesting, actually. says Burnham is ready to run, so they were going to get Andrew Gwain's seat, but Gwain isn't stepping down, so he seems pretty determined to keep his seat. Corbyn is like Labour back in 1970s and 80s, and his skill back is still back there. He never changed. He did do the social media stuff quite well. That's about it, to be honest with you. I don't think he ever learnt to adapt. So Burnham is still the king of the North moniker. Finding a seat. So sources say Andrew Gwain has not proceeded with claim for medical retirement from MP's pension fund. It is not unclear why. I don't even know what that means. It's not proceeded with a claim for medical treatment. This is the guy who he lost the whip, basically. There could be other opportunities on the horizon with at least 2 Manchester MPs sacked during the reshuffle, said to feel disgruntled toward leadership. I mean, if you're one of the people who, was taken out of cabinet, right, you resigning your seat would be so stupid. How has Labour got to replace Starmer? How or why? I think the majority of the country want him to resign based on recent polling. He's not doing very good, I'll put it that way. It was getting selected. Morgan McSweeney ruthlessly controls selections by NEC, but blocking Burnham would be a different magnitude of controversy. I think their best bet is just to block him and just say, you stay, you have a mandate to go as Mayor of Manchester, stay over there. That's what they should do. If they're smart, because there's no way they're going to beat him. The more uncertainty there is within the Labour Party, and if Burnham becomes an MP, it's over. It's very much, who has Labour got to replace Starmer? Andy Burnham, if he manages to become an MP. Me, if I get the chance to run as an MP. Larry the Cat, if Larry has a chance to run as an MP. They've got options. Yeah. There's, we're not talking, they've not got Ronaldo, Messi, and Lewandowski on the bench, but there's a couple of options there, So 3-panel person would be packed with loyalists. It does show you, though, all of these journalists knew that Morgan McSweeney was in charge of these elections by the NEC, and so it's so public now that they're saying this. When before it was we picked the best candidates, but now it's Morgan McSweeney does it all. Winning the seat, Reform UK could beat him. The mayor's friends are bullish. Andy is a big beast in his own right, and people in Manchester know he's on their side. Whatever they think of Labour nationally, which is true, I think the people of Manchester do appreciate him as mayor. He has done a good job for them. Getting enough MPs behind him. Currently 80 is needed to spark. There's a light flickering outside, but it's just the trees getting in the way of the street light. Currently 80 is needed to spark a leadership contest. Burnham has support across party right now, and they're an unhappy bunch, but full force of Team Starmer and others who think changing leader would be disastrous against him, which is true. It would be a disaster. So yeah, it's one of those things where I don't think it will happen. I can't see this happening. He's not. I don't think. The question is, right, is Keir Starmer as bad as Theresa May, and is Andy Burnham as good as Boris Johnson in terms of as a campaigner? And I don't know if that's true. And I don't think changing private. It's such a difficult one, isn't it? But I don't think Starmer should have been given the role. Like, Starmer didn't deserve to be PM, in all honesty. So I don't know. I think with the Labour Party at the moment, they're going to crash and burn, regardless of if Starmer's there or if Burnham's there. It's the whole fiscal rule thing. Everything they built that 2024 manifesto on is the problem. This idea of growth. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Build. All of this nonsense. It's not. We're not got the facilities for all of this. And I don't think her fiscal rules are helping at all, to be honest with you. But I did see, this interesting article here, so I thought I'd bring that to you guys. Speaking of which, we've got this absolute.
Take you now.
Bear with, guys. We've got this absolute bozo here in Ed Davey being on a parade. Mr. Gibbicks himself.
Take you now to Bournemouth. These are latest pictures. This is the Lib Dem leader, Sir Ed Davey, arriving. There's always a stunt, isn't there, with him? This is the party's annual conference. Well, the Lib Dems are pledging to toughen up Britain's stance on illegal migration, among a range of other policies. So here he comes.
He's doing what?
Policies. So here, among Britain's stance on illegal. Well, the Lib Dems are pledging to toughen up Britain's stance on illegal migration.
Do you see how effective Nigel Farage is as a campaigner? You've got the Lib Dems talking about toughening themselves up on illegal, irregular migration. The Lib Dems doing that when there's free space for them to say that. We'll get a processing facility set up in France. Honestly, that would be the easiest way for them to do it. But that beggars to be seen.
Among a range of other policies. So here he comes. I mean,
that poor lady in the background just trying to get by.
He can't be accused of being inconspicuous, can he?
Well, the only way he gets or seemingly gets media attention is by doing shit like this.
There he is, arriving there at his party's conference.
This is so cringe.
Record number of MPs for the Lib Dems, 72 at the last election. We can bring in our political correspondent, Amanda Acas. Morning to you, Amanda. There's always some stunt, isn't there, with the arrival of Ed Davey, but he's got some serious messages to impart at this conference.
Well, absolutely. Ed Davey's joyful arrival here at the Liberal Democrat conference in Bournemouth at the head of a marching band, and they're going to be heading off processing around the War Memorial here in the centre of the town. It's really part of an effort to try and reclaim the meaning of patriotism and
which again isn't the worst attempt in the world.
Try and fight back against what they describe as the divisive politics.
Okay, he's immediately dead. They're doing the song "Is This the Way to Amarillo?" I'm going to jump out the window. No, I hate that song.
Nigel Farage.
No, get in the bin, mate. But yeah.
The Lib Dem leader.
Oh no, that's pretty funny. Whoever did that edit. Tommy Robinson being deported from 2 countries in 2 days. This guy who's in a myriad of legal troubles somehow, right, has time to go on holiday. So,
let me tell you what my days consisted of. I needed a break, right? Just needed to have a break from everything. So, where can I have a break? I know, South America.
Just casually jetting off to South America, spending thousands of pounds going there.
Why South America? Because no one really know me. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, so low chance of any grief. So I found this place. You fly to Bogota.
This the guy who's jetting off to Cyprus and Spain every 2 minutes, but okay.
You go to these little islands. So if I go to those islands, you have a real relaxing time.
Mm-hmm.
Just a total chill time. Landed at Bogota, and what do you think happened? Detained, threat to national security, deported. Spent all day in a detention centre, at which point I said, I'm waiting for a deportation back to the UK. So I said, can I not just book a flight somewhere else? And they said, yeah. So I booked a flight to Panama. Landed in Panama. What do you think happened?
It's like a Family Guy sketch.
Detained, being deported. Sat here now 6 hours. I spent the last 24 hours of my time on a plane.
You would think a brother who runs on fake passports and has committed, kind of identity fraud when he went abroad, before seemingly when he went to I think it was the US, right? I don't think these countries are well within their rights to stop anyone getting in the border, but I don't think he has really a big say on that one, to be honest. I don't think this guy has a real big defence of his previous actions.
Sat in rooms. Threat to national security.
Yeah.
So Colombia, the country that exports what? Beautiful women and narcos. that's it. Deems me, because of my political beliefs.
And because of the amount of fraud you did, the fact that you ran kind of a massive right wing protest recently, they don't know what you're going to do in their country. So, this is the guy who talks about protecting our borders and all of this kind of stuff, right? And then when other countries try and protect their borders from him, suddenly it's I'm just a victim. Oh, I'm a little boy, I'm a victim.
For other reason, due to my political beliefs. Now, some of you may remember this happened in Mexico 2 years ago when I landed with my children. But Mexico, I got the recordings of their agents telling me that the British had told them not to let me in. And I needed this little break again, man. But here I am, sat currently in Panama's detention room, awaiting. 6 hours I've got till I'm on a deportation flight. Hope you're all having a nice little relaxed time, yeah?
Oh no, anyways. So yeah, just thought I'd bring that one to you guys. And this is, the guy's not the smartest guy around. He goes, highest point in England. There's the flag, it's not the highest point. The current at 978 meter summit of Scafell Pike. So you can see clearly there's higher points up here, but he's too scared to go up there. So it's a bit silly, to be honest. So yeah, not the brightest guy around. So this final clip, this bloody thing. Final clip of Trump facing questions whilst in the UK.
Person ITV. Mr. President, you uniquely, you alone in the whole world, have the power to persuade Prime Minister Netanyahu to stop the demolition of Gaza City, to stop the starvation of Palestine, and to stop the killing of civilians. If not now, when will you exercise that power to tell him to stop?
Sure.
And then for both of you,
But you do understand about October 7th.
Of course,
You
I'm a
do
Jew,
understand.
so believe me, I understand.
One of the
about it.
worst days in the history of humanity. What happened, I have seen the tapes. Babies that are 4 months old, and just chopped up to pieces. And
I think any international rights organisation, any international groups actually back that statement.
you've seen the tapes, and I've seen the tapes. You're a professional, and so am I. And people forget about October 7th. I can't forget about it. So I want it to end, but I want the hostages back. I don't want the hostages used as human shields, which is
Then tell Netanyahu to agree the deal that Hamas have then.
what Hamas is threatening to do.
No, they're not.
As soon as they're back, that's the moment you will tell Netanyahu
Well,
to
it would,
stop.
it would certainly help, but I have to have the
No guarantees then.
hostages back. And I don't want them back piecemeal, as I said before. I want them back.
So yeah, a complete garbage answer from a complete garbage human. But now we go to the main event, I guess. So, well, it goes so fast. September 18th. Are they alive? Some of them will be. Some of them won't be. We go back to the main event, which is the 18th of September, 2025. Sultana puts out a tweet saying, "We've hit 20,000 members. Right-wing bad faith actors are desperate to claim this link is fake. It isn't. It's safe and secure. Join us at..." I wonder if this website's still live. Good lord, it is. You can still join. The thing that gets me is these fees are outrageous. Like soon we'll have an inaugural conference, so you can go to conference or whatever, right? It's like £25 a year or £50 a year. So memberships on this channel start from I think £1. At least on the Patreon it definitely does. But they're charging a lot of money here. So see, can we actually go? You cannot perform this action, so it's been stopped. So they blocked this payment portal that she set up. It's great. It's great, and yeah, I don't know what to make of this, to be honest with you, because it doesn't make sense. So she's left this tweet up, right? So you've got that, and then Corbyn on the same day, right? So let's look at the timestamps on this. 1:30 p.m. Corbyn's come in at 2:07. So about 30. As your party was charging £5 a month, the Green Party's £5 per year. Yeah, it's a joke. £5 a month is stupid. Even the Labour Party don't charge that much. It's way too much. And so we look at what Corbyn's statement is. This morning, an unauthorised email was sent out to all your party UK supporters with details of a supposed membership portal hosted in a new domain name. Legal advice is being taken. That email should be ignored by all supporters. If any direct debits have been set up, they should be cancelled immediately. The agreed process was announced 1st of August. The Independent Alliance of MPs, Jeremy Corbyn, Sultana, Iqbal Mohammed, Adnan Hussein, Shoka Adam, and Ayub Khan are stewarding and accountable for the foundation process for the new party, leading to an inaugural democratic conference in the autumn. Earlier this week, we shared new details about the roadmap to the launch, including our plans for mass regional assemblies and our founding conference. Soon you'll be able to turn your support into membership at yourparty.uk and shape the future of our party and our country. So, looking at this, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names. There's one missing, which is this one, which is Zara's name. So clearly there's been a big debacle here. So there's been some sort of split between the two parties. So there's a big theory that she's trying to hold on to the money from this party. Effectively, it's a power split, and money is the most important thing when it comes to politics. You can't fund an operation, you can't create a movement without money. It's very difficult to, or really impossible to. So you got Rivka Brown from Navarra saying, more publicly air laundry that embarrasses absolutely everyone involved. I wanted to believe this project could succeed, but its ego-driven, warring factions seem determined it should fail. I'm not holding my breath. I think these guys are done. These guys are absolutely done. And for whatever reason, you've got, there's a bigger split in the Labour Party over this, over Zara wanting the party to be pro-trans, and things like that, and as well as not anti-landlord, but how can you run a socialist movement? Which is a fair point. How can you be a socialist but also be a landlord, which two of these MPs are in the independent group? And you can make the argument that, look, under current system, what options do people have when it comes to making money? Investments, effectively. But being a landlord is one of the things where, can you be a socialist and a landlord? Can you be part of this massive left-wing movement and be like that? Don't know. Can you be someone who believes in equality and be anti-trans? And that's the thing, you can build this movement of being socially conservative, but economically a socialist or whatever on the left. But it's an issue. Maybe she should join the Greens. I think that's the problem. She should have joined the Greens. As I said to you guys, look, when I watched her interview on Navarra, I said to you guys, this is mostly about control. This is about, when I talked about the three faces, you guys should remember this. I know if one of you is here, you would remember it, but, we talked about the three, what was it? Luke's three faces of power. They got rid of the Stanford education thing, which is tragic, but, what was the website I used to do this? So this will do. This is actually quite good. I'll link this here for the future. I'll slip this in the Discord as well. If you guys want to join the Discord, you should go for it. It's probably worth joining. So you can see here, right? The first phase of power, decision making. And this was the important thing. This is the thing I was telling you guys about. The sooner this is on the road, the sooner the MPs will dwarf Reform's numbers. The thing is, these guys are a mess, mate. It's an absolute mess. It's not about just dwarfing Reform's numbers. Reform's funded by big donors predominantly, from what I know. Who bought Farage's girlfriend that house in Clacton, etc. But going back to topic, the first phase of power, decision making. Decision making might then take into account both coercive and non-coercive action. The first phase of power is the most recognisable. Decision making is the process whereby an actor, such as an individual or organisation, considers their situation and acts upon a course they have determined. So they have, you have coercive power, non-coercive power. I have power over you. I put a gun to your head. Right, that's one way to give me a wallet. Another way is the town's mayor is shown when they decide to implement new penalties against armed robbery. Given that armed robbers intend to rob in this perhaps more socially acceptable example, the town's mayor appears powerful by stopping the robbers carrying the guns. So the town's mayor this is not the best example here, but the town's mayor is enforcing these rules via kind of not coercion but via force. Did you see the SEND? Is it SEND? Special educational needs? Is that what you put? Is that what that's meant to be? Debate from this week. I'm not sure what SEND is if it's not SEN. But yeah, so first phase of power is physical, is force most likely. Agenda setting. So this is the one it falls under, really. Agenda setting. SEN, yeah. So this here is is it SEND, special educational needs? What's the D stand for? Development. But yeah, the second phase of power is agenda setting. The second phase involves controlling the parameters of a discussion. One might want to do this, for example, so that the participants of the discussion might not be able to address things that are in their benefits. In other words, the phase of power operates before the first and might be able to prevent somebody else making a decision or discussing a decision. In doing so, I demonstrate power over them. A group of concerned citizens demonstrates its power over public agenda by successfully lobbying for stricter gun control, which is true. So you get that struck off. In ancient Athens, although all citizens were able to participate in political decision-making, the powerful Senate was composed of elected individuals and set out which policies the citizens would be able to discuss on any one day. And that's kind of more what it is. And that's why I said from the start, this whole thing is who decides what's being voted on. So that's what it was. I don't think the third phase of power is relevant here. Wouldn't it be easier if rather than preventing somebody discussing something, we could prevent somebody from even realising what was in their interest? So the third phase of power is not the one. I think it's more under 2 is where we're at, which is about the ability to set the discussion and things like that. And that's what they're trying to stop Sultana from doing. In terms of what the party should be. It doesn't make sense what they're trying to do here. So, do I feel sorry for Sultana a little bit? I think she has been iced out of her own party. But, I do ask the question of what kind of system. This, I mean, like, they didn't even have a name. Like, what kind of system do they think they're going to have? Was going to be one where... let's see what this roadmap is, actually. That'd probably help if I did that. See what this roadmap was about. Because a roadmap should have dates on it. So let's see. So what was agreed, right? So membership opens, first draft document published, regional assemblies begin. So her argument is she's only following the roadmap, which is membership opens in September, which, there's still a bit left of September. So she's jumped the gun here a fair bit. Then you've got assemblies continue, online vote for a party name, delegates, selected, amendments submitted, founding conference takes place in November, right? So her argument was she was only doing what was agreed upon, which it seems like a jump. Corbyn's arguing it was a massive breach, essentially. And fundamentally, this is what's happening from No Justice. Corbyn's Central Committee fighting Zara Sultana for control of your party. Polanski busy actually campaigning, which is true. Which is pretty much what's happening here. I did see this video here from the New Statesman, which I think covered it quite well. So we'll go to that.
Your party, this is the temporary name for the new party formed, in the process of being formed by Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana, that this morning looked like it was moving on to the next stage. And now, well, where are we, Megan? What's happened?
So yes, this morning a email was sent out to everybody who'd signed up to their mailing list, so about 750,000 people, which said you can now sign up for membership, and it had 2 tiers of membership. So it had full membership and concessionary membership. So you could pay £5 a month or £55 a year.
I think that's an outrageous amount to ask for.
And it was all very exciting. This is the most concrete update we'd had so far. We'd already had an email earlier this week setting out the timeline. So membership would open this month. Next month, the name will be decided. And
probably more bots. Probably not a ton of bots, I would imagine.
The conference is set to be in November. And quick out the starting block, Zara Sultana was very excited about this. She was tweeting, saying, we now have 10,000 members sort of within an hour of the email dropping.
Yeah, but even from the beginning, because we were in the office discussing this, there was some doubt as to whether it was
legit
and real, right? And some people were saying it's a scam, don't click on it.
So I think sort of it dropped about 11 a.m. this morning, and then kind of in the preceding hours after that, over lunchtime, there was a lot of sort of WhatsApps being exchanged and posted on Twitter that said this isn't legit. tell everyone involved that not to sign up. There's the database has been hacked. Something's gone on. And so I was like, oh, suspicious. So texted a few people who told me that they didn't really, a few people involved who told me that they didn't really think that it was a hack. They just thought that, oh, this is bizarre. It's linked up to the Your Party database. It's got all the right things, but it wasn't authorised, and they couldn't work out who had authorised it.
And the culprit was Rebecca Vardy. No,
yeah,
So callback.
Good one. That would be a real curveball. A couple of hours later, Jeremy Corbyn released, sort of a couple of hours after the membership email had went out, Jeremy Corbyn released a statement that was signed by all members of the Independent Alliance except for Zara Sultana, saying, do not sign up to this. It's an unauthorised email. We are looking into...
Didn't they say we're taking legal
advice? I suppose because they've taken money and they'll have to give it back if it's not...
It's also gone into a different company. So Corbyn's got his own kind of private limited company, but this money has gone into a different private limited company.
And there might be data protection issues as well.
Right, exactly. And it was all sort of saying, someone has gone and done this without really taking kind of the orders from everyone else involved.
But it was very notable that email was signed, as you said, by Jeremy Corbyn and the 4 pro-Gaza independents, not
Zara Sultana.
Not Zara Sultana.
I mean, none of them had been as loud or had even tweeted about the membership portal being open. So it was very clear that it was Zara Sultana. She said as much in her statement, which she posted on X a couple of hours ago.
Well, we'll come on to that statement in a minute because there's some really quite explosive stuff in it. But Ethan, can you give us a bit of context for, what we've learnt so far about this new possible left-wing grouping that has sort of been in the works for months and seems to be something that is definitely something which people on the left who are frustrated with the Starmer government are rallying behind. But this isn't the first time that there has been some confusion over quite what it is or what it might turn out to be.
No one has any real idea what it is, and this is something I said, from the start. The idea was it was meant to be some sort of left-wing party where you would take people that are disaffected from the Labour Party and, in the hopes that they would join them rather than the Greens. That's what they wanted, something that they could control, because at the end of the day, in the Labour Party, they weren't safe. Corbyn had the whip removed from him for criticising the findings of the anti-Semitism report, which was absolute bait, by the way. They baited him into that so aggressively. And I said that at the time. And Sultana was kicked, had the whip withdrawn for, for voting against keeping the 2-child cap. So she voted, she wanted to get rid of it. So, that's what happened.
So originally there was a premature launch, which was basically announced by Zara Sultana, and then there was a bit of backpedaling from the Corbyn side on that. And then you had the launch in which the name Your Party was attached to this movement, this organisation, and that was, under a web heading, a kind of URL. And then there was a kind of slightly unseemly spat on Twitter where Zara said that actually it's not called Your Party, that's just a kind of placeholder name, we'll decide this at conference. So there's been a kind of seesawing dynamic to this organisation, which I will describe as Your Party. I think we're just going to call it that now until they basically have a conference and decide what their name is.
I agree with that. And I think, and I said this at the time as well, they were just, she announced it, Corbyn was like, I'm not too sure about this, and then in the end Corbyn kind of backed it, right? And it's the same thing that's happened here, except Corbyn hasn't backed this membership portal. That's the problem. So instead of saying, okay, yeah, it's fine, whatever, he's saying no.
And basically the dynamic is, the question this morning was, whose fault was this? This is obviously a bit of a mess. Whose fault was this? And it depends what you really think the fault is or where the fault lies, because I suppose from Zara Sultana's perspective and the people around her, they are trying to build forward momentum, right? They're basically looking at the Green Party, which is led by Zach Polanski, who's obviously a charismatic and left-wing figure. And they're thinking, they're basically going to steal our trousers if we don't do something quite quickly. And then it seems like Corbyn and the Independent Alliance MPs basically want a more kind of democratically based process, which brings in a membership before they make big decisions. Possibly they that group want to vet the kind of people who are joining the party, and Zora's more open to just letting anybody in. And
I don't think that's the case. I think it was over who has control over finances. At least that's some of the stuff I read. I think it's about who controls the money in the party. I think that's what it was.
Going from there, so
especially when in Sultana's case as well, right? She was talking. She's annoyed that she's been iced out of voting rights or whatever. Okay, now I don't know what the structure of your party is. I don't know if anyone knows what the structure of your party is in terms of voting right. Is it the case that it's the co-leader system where decisions are made kind of 50-50 between Sultana and Corbyn, or is it that each of the individual MPs that are part of the group get some sort of voting say on it, and it's diluted by about five, so you got 5 people in there, I think. If we have a look, where's that bloody letter from from Corbyn? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it'd be 6 people. The votes will be split 6 ways effectively. Is that the case? Who knows? Honestly.
It's kind of, this seems like Act 3 in, I mean, we can't yet say it's a tragedy, but...
how many acts are we going to get, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if this is a real split and it does become a situation where your party becomes our party and their party, then, the future is probably quite bleak for them. And we were discussing just earlier today of, where will the money go? Where will the membership list go in terms of people who have signed up saying that they're interested in giving their email address and contact details?
Because it very much, and this is important as well, because this is how you build a base. You need all of this information. I've got a feeling it's going to be Sultano's kicked out of that party.
That will cause big problems. I mean...
Should we have a look at her statement? Because some of the language here is really quite striking. So this is Zara Sultana's statement that came after the statement issued by Jeremy Corbyn and the others saying it was launched prematurely, don't sign up. She says, neither of this week's emails had the dual authorisation of both myself and Jeremy, which was the agreement made at the start of the process. And then she says, after being sidelined by the MPs named in today's statements and effectively frozen out of the official accounts, I took the step of launching the membership portal. So she's essentially arguing that she's been shut out of the process. And then she actually says that even more explicitly. She says, I have been subjected to what can only be described as a sexist boys' club. I've been treated appallingly and excluded completely. They have refused to allow any other women with voting rights on the working group, blocking the gender balance committee that both Jeremy and I signed up to. So this is not just about how soon do we launch our members portal, right, Megan? This is about something that's bigger and deeper than that question.
Yeah, it's certainly... been a very long running split. I think this is just the ultimate culmination of it. So I wrote a piece earlier this week about how Zara Sultana and Adnan Hussein, one of the independent MPs, have had a very public splat.
I mean,
I think that'd be a terrible move. I can't believe they're this dumb, honestly. And I told you guys, it is about control, and I told you guys, what they're doing is stupid. I believe that because it looked, on the face of it, it looked very silly what they were doing, right? And then, my expectations were low, but wow.
It has felt like a splat.
Yeah, very public spat on Twitter about trans rights, but actually I've spoken to insiders who've told me that, that is more of a cover for the fact that, as Ethan kind of laid out there, the Independent Alliance have a very different view to what they want from your party, what they want it to look like, and how they want it to operate. It's not just
Luke's second face of power.
The Independent Alliance, it's kind of the people around Jeremy Corbyn. You've got Carrie Murphy, who was with him in Lotto. You've got Pamela Fitzpatrick, who's the director of the Peace and Justice Project, which is sort of the Corbyn project. And they want sort of a more MP-led, sort of top-down approach to starting your party. I think. So
let's have a listen. This is the important bit.
With him in Lotto, you've got Pamela Fitzpatrick, who's the director of the Peace and Justice Project, which is sort of the Corbyn project. And they want sort of a more MP-led, sort of top-down approach to starting your party. I think it's very much sort of based in that trade union movement, that kind
so they want they want to have more control over the party. They don't want power to belong to the membership by the sounds of it. Again, agenda setting is this.
Like, more formal, laboury, even though...
I never thought my education at university would really help me on this channel, because we do a lot of basic stuff, but it's really coming through.
Isn't Labour way of doing things. Whereas you've got Zara, who she would rather see a more grassroots, membership-led kind of do what Zach Polanski is doing in terms of tapping into that need for a populist movement. And she's kind of got the backing of people like Jamie Driscoll, who has actually done that in Newcastle with Majority, and Andrew Feinstein, who ran against Keir Starmer in Holborn and St Pancras last year. So this is really about the different personalities, because you've got Zara Sultana, who does have a very big personality. She's very bolshy in the way that she operates. I don't mean that in a sexist way. She just is. She's very loud, and I guess as a Muslim woman, she does get judged differently. And then you've got Jeremy Corbyn, who has sort of always been very indecisive, but is surrounded by some people who have got very clear ideas of where they want this to go, but who also don't get on with Zara Sultana. So this split has been bubbling since, the fact that they held a meeting on Zoom that wasn't formal. It went on for 10 minutes, and then straight afterwards, Zara went and announced
the
that
Labour Party.
Yeah, exactly. That was seen as, we can't trust her. So I think it's all...
So it does, again, fall back a lot on Zara Sultana. She's not following what they agreed on, and she can make the argument she's not happy with some of those independent MPs or whatever being part of the group. But it very much looks like she keeps jumping the gun on things. That, the roadmap, her argument of the roadmap they agreed to was to set up the portal in September. Again, there's still a bit left in September, and it doesn't look like they've actually agreed on what kind of system they really want. Like, again, charging the amount of money they are charging for these memberships is crazy to me.
It's all, a very long process where there's been lots of resentments that have sort of existed before that have kind of come to the fore now. And I think people within your party or within this movement are getting very worried that this could just mean an existential problem, and there is a split between these two groups.
Where is Corbyn in all of this? Because Corbyn and Zara Sultana were allies when he was leader. People talked about her being kind of set up and trained to be a potential successor to the Corbynista movement. Obviously, he ran as an independent and won his seat as an independent, having had a multi-decade career in Labour. She won as a Labour MP and was then had the whip removed within weeks over the 2-child benefit cap vote. But she was elected as a Labour MP, so she is a latecomer to their independent grouping and the way that they sit in Parliament. And he is a Labour, and he is an independent MP, but has all of this kind of history, having been Labour leader, and all the people around him, they're very much from the Labour Party, but from a particular faction and movement within it. How does he fit into this split where he doesn't seem to be saying very much publicly?
I think where he fits in is name recognition, supposed experience, and also just him, being a massive thorn in Starmer's side.
What's interesting is that Jeremy and Zara, everyone I have spoken to says they get on really well. And it's really bizarre because at the start of my reporting of this process, sort of in June, people were saying Zara is the heir to Jeremy Corbyn. But I think it comes down to what you were just saying, which is that I think there is a sense within, the independent alliance that Zara wasn't elected as an independent. She was elected as a Labour MP. She quit the Labour Party and has now come into this movement. And I think I've said previously that this, the independent alliance as it stands with Zara in it is sort of united by the issue of Gaza. But as we've seen with other single issue parties, it's very difficult to maintain a coalition around one issue if you actually disagree on other things like, the structural things of how do we run this party, or more ideological things like trans rights. So
Or the name.
Yeah.
And also we're saying that obviously the very pertinent points you make about how they all kind of have different electoral histories. that inevitably means the sort of social base of their support is different, right? I mean, the Independent Alliance MPs basically...
They were never Labour.
They were never Labour, basically. And they would not be in the House of Commons had the Labour Party not taken the position it did on Gaza when in opposition, right? Whereas Jeremy and Zara represent a tradition in the Labour Party which goes back a very long way. And this kind of comes out, if you look at some of this sort of online...
John McDonnell's smart. John McDonnell knows that the Labour Party will probably take him back, because if they kick him out of the Labour Party, if they don't select him as the candidate for the election, he's going to massively split the vote, which is dumb. For, it's better you have him in the party and you have some control over him and the stuff he can say, right? But you kick him out of the party, and this is what happens. This is why it was dumb to kick Corbyn out of the party fully. And with Sultana as well, I think they probably would have let her back in the party, because there's a strong chance she would still win that seat even as an independent. It's hard to prove that. Well, I guess it's not hard to prove it because we'll probably see it. We're going to see it soon.
In discourse on the left about the Independent Alliance, you'll see it's not just about trans, it's about things like, Shocker Adam and Ayub Khan are both landlords, for example, which a lot of people on the left find quite alienating, because why would we kind of ally ourselves with people who sort of, on the economic questions, seem to be on the other side of the coin, right? Or the other side of the ledger.
They also voted, I think, against Labour's plans for getting rid of the loophole for private schools and VAT.
And so, maybe it is doomed.
Yeah. Well, I want to compare what's going on with the anti-establishment left-wing movement, however you want to want to define it, and what Nigel Farage was able to do on the right of British politics, right of the Tories. The structure of reform, which we talked about in this podcast before, is sort of the polar opposite to, I guess, what Zara Sultana is trying to build. It's a limited company. Members don't get votes. It's Nigel Farage's party, and he decides policy, and he decides who gets jobs, and that's how it all works. Why do you think that has worked for him and they're struggling so hard?
It's because of who he is as a leader. He is, and a lot of people don't want to give Farage credit. He is charismatic. He does do well in interviews for the most part, which does help him. It's also because, he's in absolute control. He's in absolute control of the party. He sets the agenda. He does have issues, I think, with Andrea Jenkins, but generally he's managed to handle those issues. Or he just kicks them out of the party. There's that, I can't remember his name, but Lowe, I think his name, Rupert Lowe. He just kicks them out. Anyone he thinks he can do that can do better than him, he kicks them out. That's one of the main reasons why his parties have never been that successful. It's because they don't have any generals who can actually do things that interviews and do quite well. It's because he kicks them out. He kicks out anyone who could be a rival. That's his main problem. But ultimately he's feeding off the fact that he's the only kind of right-wing party in the UK, like this established mainstream, because the Conservatives are the only competition to him, and they've completely fumbled. Kemi Badenoch, complete moron. So he's in a space where he exists on his own, whereas your party's in a space where it exists partly with the Lib Dems, partly with the Labour Party, but mostly with the Green Party. That's where all the energy is going to be, and so your party has a lot more competition than the Reform Party.
To kind of figure out the contours of even the structure of what they're trying to build.
I suppose that the history of Nigel Farage's movements and political parties is him sort of ruthlessly expunging and purging anybody who disagreed with the direction in which he was taking those parties, right? And it has eventually paid off. I don't think Jeremy Corbyn has ever quite had the mettle, and that's not necessarily an insult to him as a person, but as a political leader, he's never quite had the mettle to do it. And
which is something he should have done to people, that were on the right of the party. He should have purged them. Because look what they did to him. That's the thing. You can only pull in the same direction if everyone believes somewhat in the vision. And ultimately, the people on the Labour right did not believe in the vision, and they hampered him.
When Jeremy Corbyn was leader of the Labour Party, there were constant headlines about how there's going to be deselections of various right-wing Labour MPs. It never happened. They just didn't do it. And Keir Starmer has been much more ruthless in getting rid of his political opponents than Corbyn ever was. And it seems like that's just something in his personality which is now continuing.
Megan, you're nodding along.
Oh yeah, and I think what is interesting about this is that you've clearly got two, not that I would call Corbyn a sort of charismatic personality, but you do have two big galvanising figures on the left, whereas with Nigel Farage there's just him. And so it's quite difficult to sort of have two personalities, which of course the left has too, because as Ethan was sort of saying, it's like it's so democratic and everybody has to have their turn and all that, this sort of stuff. But I think what is interesting is with this message to Zara, you are seeing a more ruthless side to Corbyn.
Well, or at least the people
around him. And that is interesting. But
because they're I think they've learnt the lesson of what happened before when they didn't kind of exercise the control they had before. Because some of these people in Corbyn's team might have been like, why don't we get rid of some of these annoying MPs? And there would have been lots of conversations with people in, I think it's the NEC for Labour and all these other groups, right? Now there's none of that nonsense. There's none of that bureaucracy. It's we're in charge of the party. We can just do what we want. There's not much bureaucracy. We don't even know what the kind of bureaucracy is, what kind of process there is within this party.
I don't necessarily know whether it will play in the electoral way that he wants it to play, because what we have to remember is that we have Zach Polanski, who's just been elected to join to lead the Green Party, who is filling that gap already that Sultana and Corbyn have set out to fill, and is on the media around all the time. He was debating Penny Mordaunt yesterday. He's already getting ahead, whereas they're sort of arguing over the fine print. Yeah.
And on this accusation that Zara Sultana makes about a boys' club, the left and Labour, they Labour has never had a female leader. The charge of sexism within the left movement is one that is sort of routinely made. All the other pro-Gaza independents are men. We've talked before about how, because they're united by this one issue, Gaza, there's a strain of social conservatism in there that sort of runs contrary perhaps to things like reproductive rights and obviously trans rights as well. Is there, she mentions, Carrie Murphy, who's a sort of key Corbyn backer and a key figure in that, but is there an issue of gender here, that there was kind of one girl in the club and now that's the one who's been forced out? Or is it more about kind of their backgrounds and how they got into politics?
I think it's more about personality than it is about gender, because a lot of the people around Corbyn who are advising him are women. As I mentioned, Carrie Murphy, Pamela Fitzpatrick, his wife Laura is very influential in terms of what Corbyn does. I mean, I saw that she was tweeting about, don't sign up, this is unauthorised. So I think it is more about this sort of, there was this pre-existing block of MPs that Corbyn had managed to align himself with and become quite friendly with and operate with in Parliament. And then, Zara comes along and she's part of his sort of previous allegiances, and that's what he's struggling to marry here, is that
they make it out like she's like a child from a previous divorce or something.
Yeah, it's the single issue thing, I guess.
Well,
I think it's because she's trying to define your party as something which they don't want it to be.
Going back to her statement and what she thinks is going to happen next, she says, I'm calling on Jeremy to meet with me and agree to make public all their structures and decision-making protocols. She says, I will keep fighting.
Which is something you fucking should have done in the first place. But this is what happens when you rush, when you jump the gun. You don't have any idea. Like, we don't know what the voting system's like for coming up with decisions right now. I know they want to move to, maybe a one member per, one vote kind of system. We have no idea what's going on because she didn't bother to set the stage before she made her big appearance.
And then she says, no stitch-ups, no coronations, the members must decide. This reads to me like she still feels
she's coronated herself to be leader alongside Jeremy Corbyn.
She's very involved in this and that she has a key leadership role in the founding of whatever this is. But Megan, you started off by saying, this is possibly unsustainable. Ethan, you said that this is Act 3 of the conflict.
Some plays have 5 acts.
Some plays have that's true. It's like tennis, 5 sets. Do we think that Zara Sultana can stay in your party or will stay in your party, or do we think a split is inevitable?
Oh, I don't know. I think that some sort of split does seem to be on the cards. This seems pretty sort of final in terms of, well, not necessarily final, but pretty serious in terms of the disagreement. But I do think that actually if Zara were to be kicked out of your party, they would probably lose quite a lot of the grassroots support they've got, because I think that actually what they have tapped into is this sort of want for a progressive socialist alternative, and actually not everyone was signing up for that because they love, Shocker Adam or Ayub Khan. They were signing up for that because it was, wow, this is what we've been waiting for. Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn, they are popular, they're populists.
Do you think it's something where the ethos of the grassroots members and the supporters and the, what you said, 700,000 people who signed up, their priorities and their demographic and their attitude is markedly different from the majority of the current MPs who are MPs because they turned up to Parliament on a single issue and are not part of that movement?
Yeah, I think there would be some people within that who are more of sort of the Gaza independence sort of social persuasion, but actually, as we've seen with Polanski and with the Greens, there is this gap that, Corbynism, Labour's lost so many members since the end of Corbynism. I think I saw that they'd lost 200,000 members in 5 years. Where have those people gone? They're still probably going to be politically active or engaged.
I think they're just waiting to see where to move to, and I think I saw one of the guys who was on Corbyn's team talk about this, and they've just said they're going to join the Green Party.
Was supposed to be that place, but it just seems like its whole intentions from the start have been muddled, and I think that's because probably the best time for it to launch would have been after Corbyn got kicked out of Labour, but instead we've had an election where Corbyn and others have won on an independent ticket.
I think the best time would have been just after that election.
Without having this banner of your party. So it's now difficult to form that electoral coalition when there are sort of electoral routes that are already in place, if that makes sense.
And does this make it easier for Keir Starmer and Labour that the left-wing alternative has just crumbled? Not to say that it has crumbled, but it looks like it might be facing some early issues.
I basically think some kind of organisation, I know it sounds a bit pie in the sky, some kind of organisation that's pollable will inevitably emerge from the kind of clashing of forces which is happening in the left of politics in the past few years.
I don't think it's going to come from your party. It's going to come from Polanski and the Greens.
And it might just end up being the Green Party, actually.
Yep.
I mean, there's basically going to be an organisation which, unless the Labour Party changes direction in some way, is going to take 10% of the popular vote off them, or attempt to. I mean, I'm not saying that's a definite thing, but it's going to kill them in the polls. It's going to be a challenger to the left. I mean, we've spoken as though, the inevitable outcome of this is that kind of, or one of the possible outcomes of this is that Zara might be kicked out of your party. It's actually possible it might, the other way around might happen, because she is the one who has kind of forced the creation of this organisation and has pushed it forward at every turn. And so maybe there's a situation in which actually Corbyn and the other independent alliance MPs, or them minus Corbyn, just actually say, we're not interested in this, sorry, we're kind of pretty single issue. And we're not actually on the left, right? I mean, that is kind of, I don't want to speak for other people, but when you look at the kind of arguments that are being had, maybe they're just not interested in this wider project.
That's true. I can imagine those guys leave and just say, we're kind of done with this, because, we didn't win on a party ticket. We won on an independent ticket. And therefore we don't actually need a party. We don't need the infrastructure. We don't need the headache. And it puts Sultana in an awkward spot because, again, would she have won her seat without the Labour Party? She's the only question mark in that situation. And, she's the one trying to define what this your party should be. And they're clearly not happy with that.
And Megan, I remember 6 months ago, you were on Zara Sultana defecting to the Greens watch. That was a thing that we were keeping an eye out for. Those conversations were happening.
Yeah, those conversations did happen. But nothing came of them. And obviously the Your Party thing happened. But I can't necessarily see it happening now. I think it would be more likely that sort of MPs on the left of Labour would go to the Greens rather than anybody involved in Your Party.
She'd gone early.
Polanski's talking about possible defections, but parties always do this. They always talk about, we're talking to people about defecting to our party. The only one that's managed to actually succeed in doing that is Nigel Farage.
she could have run for the leadership.
Well, she I don't actually think she could in terms of the protocol, but yeah.
But things certainly
Well,
would
Zach
look.
Polanski did say he'd roll out the red carpet for her.
Yeah.
So
it's an open question. Finally, just lay out what we can expect coming up, because you started off by saying that earlier in the week there was an announcement of the various stages, what people were paying for, what people were advised to pay for today. I think they're going to return the money, but tell me if I've got this right, the chance to be part of sortition that would have chosen delegates in a way that is both random and representative that I don't quite understand, but that would then have sent delegates to the conference that is going to happen in November.
Yeah. So what they would sign up for, but now haven't, is membership, which would mean you'd be able to attend some of these regional assemblies that they're holding, which run on sortition, which is essentially how a citizens' assembly runs. So you select a random group of people, but who are representative of all the demographics within the area that you're trying to represent. And I think the idea was for them to deliberate on policies and the structure of the party. And then that would feed into the conference in November, because what they didn't want to do or don't want to do is show up to conference and have all these votes but not know what they're voting on.
When's the conference?
In November.
Do we know?
Again,
have a date?
like what? Who's again? I don't. Who's setting this whole thing up? It doesn't make sense, guys. Like, the things being voted on, this whole delegate process. Like, surely you do one member, one vote. Surely that's how you do it. That's the only thing that makes this delegate stuff. It's nonsense. Again, it's just so much nonsense.
No, we don't have a date.
Do we know if it's before or after the budget, which is the 26th of November?
We know literally nothing.
It's become late.
They haven't decided yet.
Yeah.
Well, so is the budget.
Yeah.
So
anyone's guess, really.
Could be around then. Don't know. But also, they are holding
Knowing these bozos, they'll probably do it just before the budget and just get completely overshadowed by it.
a vote on the name next month. I've heard rumours that the three options are your party, the Left Party, and the People's Party.
Again, second phase of power agenda setting. Who decided on these three names? This whole idea of we'd let the membership decide what the name is going to be is like, you haven't. All you've done is Politburo nonsense, where you've said, okay, we gave you these three options, you have to decide. That's what they did in that's what the Communist Party used to run. You don't get a choice in who we pick, but we'll give you a small selection of options. Politburo. Nonsense. Not her, but this whole video, this whole topic is absolute nonsense. There's some more from your party you want to discuss.
It's very funny as you read out. Well done. You are a comedian.
I was merely reading the news.
It's the Bolsheviks versus the Mensheviks versus like everybody else. From bits of some Marxist-Leninist history, except with sign-up pages and sort of
and money, people's money.
But this is where it's going to get interesting. I mean, you're right. It's, and you said in your intro, it's a good news for Keir Starmer, because they were getting quite angsty about this.
They were doing pretty well in the polls initially.
We've seen, we saw Jeremy Corbyn, of course, got elected in Islington against an official candidate very much backed up by the centre. So we know that the Corbyn machine can still be very powerful. I still think that he emerges from this in a stronger position, Matt, because we've seen Zara Sultana that to and fro. Well, I've got 20,000. There'll be a huge argument, and I think it will get legal about the data. Yeah. There's also a question of who got the money. I don't mean to suggest any misuse has been made of the funds. How on earth would you know if it's misused? You've no idea what it is. But I think there'll be an argument about the money that's coming. That's quite considerable. There'll be an argument about the data. Zara Sultana herself is under pressure. I think she wanted to set herself a bit up as head of a sort of faction. She's from a different kind of far left politics. I agree with Noah, it's endlessly factional. But this is really interesting. And if you speak to a lot of young voters who are attracted to it, they're attracted to her. She's not a classical, sort of Marxist class war person. She's much more identity
she's younger,
politics.
Different generation.
She's very good at the communication. It's interesting that there's also a schism about the fact that she talks a lot about being an anti-Zionist.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. She does talk. She does want the party to be anti-Zionist as well.
The leader of the Labour Party was then thrown out by Keir Starmer, then got elected as an independent MP. Earlier this year, the Labour MP Zara Sultana, suspended for wanting to scrap the two-child benefit cap, threw herself out of Labour and into co-leading Corbyn's new party. Except he seemed a bit caught off guard by that, and whether or not it was called Your Party or not. Then, yesterday morning, Zara Sultana emailed their supporters, "We have just launched our membership at a price of £55. Soon," she was boasting, "we've hit 20,000 members. Right-wing bad faith actors are desperate to claim this link."
Which is, there's a lot of money here.
It's fake. It isn't. It's safe and secure. Within hours, Jeremy Corbyn, not a natural right-wing bad faith actor, issued an urgent message declaring that email should be ignored by all supporters. If any direct debits have been set up, they should be cancelled. Then Zara Sultana issued a statement saying she had been subjected to what can only be described as a sexist boys' club. Then the X account for Your Party, which may or may not be what it's actually called, rejected its criticism and suggested that after the unauthorised email to supporters had been sent, they had reported the matter to the Information Commissioner's office. Now, a group called Our Party has launched an attempt to... Do pay attention, this is important, I'll be testing it. A group called Our Party has launched an attempt to wrestle back control of Your Party from the politicians.
What an absolute joke, guys. It's not much for me to add to this, but it's just... there's an internal group, like, within 2 months... Excuse me. 2 months. 2 months is all it took for this whole operation to just completely crumble. You can't make this up. 2 months, and it's just gone. It's gone. Just dead. It's completely dead. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. You got what's his face taking a victory lap over Ryan.
Might not get that money back now.
Any reason to think that these characters may not be best placed to run an actual country?
I couldn't possibly comment on that. I mean, it's just a joke, isn't it? And I think a lot of people think it is just a total joke. The Labour Party are absolutely laughing about this, though, because obviously, I think it was 1 in 5 young Brits said they would be prepared to possibly support Jeremy Corbyn's party at the next election.
Listen,
20%.
The story of Jeremy Corbyn's whole sort of, post-Brexit career or pre-Brexit career, he represents some really beautiful and powerful ideas. But it's a bit like sending the worst imaginable salesman out to sell a beautiful product.
And he's shown more kind of venom towards Sultana than he has to people who have actually gone against him. People that have actually said some really heinous shit about him. Just going back to the timeline on this, 11/11, Zara Sultana posted a link for Your Party membership. The link is a different domain from what was previously used on other Your Party communications. Membership £5 a month or $2.50 a month for concessions. I don't know what the different tiers of membership are. It's not really been explained. But I still think £25 annually is a bit steep. This followed by an email to subscribers at 11:17. Sultana claims Your Party reached 20,000 members. So if I pull out the old calculator, she's saying 20,000 members times, well, we'll say 250 because, talking 50 G's, talking potentially 50 and 100 grand, potentially. In terms of money, Corbyn and 4 other MPs put out a statement, 207. So clearly there must have been some sort of crisis when they figured out what was going on. Cancelled direct debits. Corbyn then emailed members shortly after the statement. Politics Home reported a formal split in Your Party now seems inevitable. Sultana hit back at 2:44, saying Your Party is a sexist boys' club and admits she did not have permission from Corbyn to launch the paid membership earlier. She has now asked Corbyn to meet with her. So, what the fuck is going on? Who knows at this point? Have they spoken? God knows. I don't know what's going on in this party at all. Here you've got Andrew Fisher, that's the guy I was thinking of, discussing this.
It's interesting to see the Green Party have been very public today in saying how quickly their membership has gone up over the last 24 hours. Zach Polanski, who is, let's face it, an articulate leader espousing left-wing views broadly in a pretty stable party, probably looks like a more attractive option for a lot of people at the moment. And if and this is purely anecdotal, but if my timeline and my WhatsApp messages or anything to go by, a lot of people have decided, I'm not bothering with that, I'm joining the Greens. It's interesting to see the Green Party have been...
Yeah, because they look like they've got a leader who's got a brain, for a start. And more importantly, they seem to have direction, they have momentum. And Your Party is completely stuck in the water, they have nothing, they're going backwards. This from Gabriel Pogron saying that Jeremy Corbyn says he's appalled by abuse of his aide, Carrie Murphy, breaking his silence to condemn the tactics of Sultana and her allies. Word just now, his annual Peace and Justice Conference. See more on the Times website shortly. So they've got, an article out about this. Crazy work. And this is the person who actually made the point. I kind of nicked it. If I were Zara's shoes, I'd find it incredibly not to be seething at Corbyn. Like, why are you backing two socially conservative landlords over somebody who's literally only there in the first place because of your priorities? And this argument someone makes down here is, these two landlords are the base of building a broad-based, pro-Palestinian coalition. Zara Sultana is not, but I just don't think it's a good idea. Like this way, fighting factions. One side wanted control, other side wanted it member-led. I think that's the problem. But again, what did Sultana agree to in the first place? She jumped the gun and announced the party before anything formal was properly done. The party could have had some sort of constitution or some sort of system in place, but she rushed it. She jumped the gun. This is mostly on her. Honestly, she teamed up with a bunch of goons who we know who these people are. I don't see this more than just a generational fumble, honestly, which is what I said from the start. Maybe I'm biased and I want to see myself as being correct, but honestly, I'm just baffled. I'm just baffled that she's managed to mess this up so badly. This guy, Evolved Politics, someone who's very much on the left, saying, I've totally given up on Corbyn and Sultana. If they can finally both grow up and get their act together, good. But I ain't wasting time on it, and we seriously haven't got much time to wait. Polanski is bossing it at the moment. We must unify with him. If we can't, Farage wins. This is from Navarro. It's a really long kind of tweet on this, but you got a group of 24 grassroots organisers have launched a campaign, launched a surprise bid to lead the new left-wing party, provisionally called Your Party, after a public spat between the two co-founders. The group, calling itself Our Party, is drawn from the trade union tenant movement, which we discussed earlier, as well as local Your Party groups. Among them are renters unions organisers Josh Virasamy and Palestinian Solidarity organiser Janine Horani. It's organising. You've got a kind of renters union person in an organisation which has MPs as landlords. Our party's a petition which is calling on members of the public to co-sign demands that 6 independent MPs, including Sultana, Corbyn and the 4 others, step back from the leadership and allow members to take over, which, again, if they had, if they went in with this co-leadership model, right, of Corbyn and Sultana being there, what they should have done is said, look, we're going to have a conference at this time and we're going to set up the leadership structure. We're going to vote on what kind of leadership structure we want. It doesn't even make sense, though, because if you don't have a leadership structure, if you say to people like, okay, do you want us to have a single leader or do you want us to have the co-leadership structure, right? Then you have to have a chance for people to run to be leader. Like, over what kind of time frame are you giving people to do this? This stuff makes no sense. Honestly, I think she wanted Corbyn in there for his name value, but she could have set this whole thing up herself, to be honest with you, and she was better off doing that. That's the one thing that she should have learnt from Farage, is better as a solo operation. Honestly, at least until you get it off the ground, and then you can learn from the mistakes Farage made, which is you need people who are good. You need good, strong lieutenants, which is something something Farage doesn't have. But you've got people saying the MPs have got us this far, but it's time to hand over the reins. So you got this group who want it to be the democratic model that Sultana has. I don't think it's going to happen though. This is so stupid. And you've got Jamie Driscoll and Andrew Feinstein, Beth Winters putting out statements talking about how the money's safe effectively. MOU Operations Limited was set up before the launch of Your Party's website, went live on the 24th of July. It was approved by Corbyn and Sultana to be a custodian of the donations. All the donations encouraged by Zara and Jeremy or anyone else went into this bank account with their approval. So they're trying to say, this was all agreed upon. This is nothing dodgy's happened here. Essentially that the funds are safe. But it just doesn't make any sense. All they've done is create a bigger split in the left. That's all they've managed to achieve here. They've managed to somehow take all the goodwill they've had and just completely squandered it. It's on the point that this story is so big that two of my relatives are discussing, my two brothers. They're not even that into politics, but they know who Corbyn is, they know who Sultana is, and they're talking about it with me, saying how bad this is, because this is dog shit. These two just moronic. The whole group of them just moronic. How did they think this was going to go? I don't get it. And, the final thing to kind of end on this, the pièce de résistance, I guess, which is that, Sultana put out a statement saying that over the last 24 hours, a number of false defamatory statements have been published about me concerning the launch of your party's membership portal. The portal was properly launched in accordance with the party's roadmap, which is, what I said to you guys earlier about, her kind of using that to her defence, because the party agreed to set up a membership portal this month. At no point was members' data misused or put at risk. All funds received from the members were ring-fenced and protected in the appropriate manner. These baseless attacks on my character are politically motivated, and I intend to hold to account those responsible for making them. To that end, I've instructed specialist defamation lawyers to avoid prejudicing or complicating any further legal process, or not be making any further comment about this matter. So this is how it's ended. They've ended in a massive legal battle. It's just nuts. It doesn't. Guys. Honestly, I don't get it. I don't think she's put out anything. I don't think she's put out anything recently. So I'm just gonna have a quick look. I don't think she's put anything today about it, but I'm gonna hop off in a minute, guys. But I just want you guys to question, how do we get into this situation that we're in? And this is the last thing she's tweeted about. Normally she's quite active on Twitter. So yeah, it's very clear that she's backing this Our Party thing. So this is partly from her. That she wants this to happen. This is effectively a coup being led by her on her own party that she helped co-found. It's just nonsense. The fact that she admits that, that she didn't have permission to set up this this portal is nuts. So look, this is where she has the cope after being. I can't believe I didn't retweet this one. She goes, after being sidelined by MPs named in today's statement and effectively frozen out of official accounts, I took the steps of launching a membership portal so that supporters could engage and organise. It was in line with the roadmap set out for members on Friday. Everyone who supports this should sign up now. My sole motivation has been to safeguard the grassroots involvement that is essential to this party. Unfortunately, what I've been subjected to is the sexist boys club. That's what we mentioned. I've been treated appallingly and excluded completely. And again, how have they managed to exclude you? Out of what? Out of what decision making? If you had a system where everyone, you had a unanimous vote system, or a system where the majority rules, then that would be impossible. But again, we don't know what the system is you guys are running for decision making, because they haven't told us. She says, it's important to be transparent by the situation as arisen. I do not believe that members will accept Carrie Murphy and her associates having sole financial control over members' money and sole constitutional control over our conference. But again, you've set this conference to be in Liverpool. That's what was agreed. It doesn't. This is what I mean, guys. It all comes back. It comes back to this. This is what she's been a victim of: agenda setting. It is kind of scary how accurate this kind of goes to her situation, which is she doesn't want Carrie Murphy to be able to set the agenda and control the funds. From the outset, we agreed that MOU Operations Limited, stewarded by O'Driscoll, Beth Winter, and Feinstein, would hold the managed funds on behalf of members until the founding conference, at which point they would be transferred to a new entity established democratically. Every penny raised so far has gone to MOU operations and continues to be the case within the new membership portal. This, to be clear, is members' money, and our money must decide how it is spent. But again, is this in writing? Do you have this? Where is this agreement that supposedly happened? Surely you could publish this and we could see it. The arrangement was designed to ensure transparency, accountability and protection against the concentration of financial control in the hands of any one person. I regret that today's statement has misrepresented the situation. My actions have been consistent of our shared commitment to build an open, democratic, member-led organisation. I will continue to fight for the process where members, money, data and voices are safeguarded, not centralised under the control of one individual. I am calling on Corbyn to meet with me and agree to make public all agreed structures. Why don't you just do that? Why don't you just put out that information? Oh my fucking God. Just tell us, like, how do you create a system where we have no idea how the leadership works, no idea how things are voted on, no idea how things are decided? How do you do this? Like, how are you this naive? Doing this will restore hope for our members and ensure nothing like this can ever happen again. The party is more important than any one person. We owe it to all a movement to deliver a truly democratic and socialist party. I think she should have ended it with not for the few, for the many. The Democratic founding conference of this party will take place in late November, which you fuckers are trying to make me go to. By the way, I haven't forgotten that. You absolute rascals. I will keep fighting for a minimum programme for maximum democracy. You have my word. No stitch-ups, no coronations. The members must decide. And again, what kind of leadership structure are you going to have? How are you going to, like, if you're going to do this at conference, right? If you say, look, guys, we're going to have a dual leadership structure. That's what the party decide on, okay? Who are going to be the two leaders? How fast are you going to have an election for leadership? I don't know. I don't get it. Like, this is an omni shambles, an absolute omni shambles. So yeah. Should we join up, chaps? Of Republic staff. I don't know who this is. Someone who wants to abolish the monarchy. It's crazy. Yeah, generational fumble, guys. This is I don't get how they've managed to do this. All of this because the fact that this person, Carrie, whatever her name is, has control over the party. You know, when she signed up to do this party with Corbyn, did you think that she wouldn't be there? Did you think, like, you know, Corbyn would be? I think she wanted Corbyn to be kind of a figurehead and not really be too involved. I think that's what she wanted, genuinely. But, you know, I think she's either naive or very stupid in this situation. I know people are team Zara because of her, because they probably agree with her politics more than anything. But I think the way she has handled this has been incredibly silly. It's very hard to. It's one of those rare stories where no one comes off. No one looks good in this one at all. It's hard to root for anyone here, and it's very hard to take sides because they're both idiots. They're both stupid. So how am I supposed to back any one of them? I think Corbyn's teaming up with a bunch of clowns in that independent group. I think they probably see her as someone who is trying to force the party, because what she wants is a pro-trans party, which is fine. But when was that ever decided on? You know, when was that ever the party's, you know, direction? Not to give the impression that I'm anti-trans or anything like that. But, you know, if you want the party to be, you know, the party's policies to be decided by the membership, surely you have to let the party vote on these kind of things. Because, again, you're trying to do, you know, this agenda setting at that point, which is the thing you're mad at the other side from doing. I don't know, guys. I know chat's been oddly quiet, so I don't know if you guys have got anything you want to add to that before I go. But party face it is, yeah. I can't understand how on earth she takes court action for defamation. Is a very high bar to prove in court. She should have gone with slander and libel. Well, defamation, right? You know, slander and libel are, you know, one is written, the other one's spoken. So we can never forget the man who explained this to us, right? And I used this the other day at work to explain to someone.
Spider-Man wasn't attacking the city. He was trying to save it. That's slander.
It is not. I resent that. Slander is spoken. In print, it's libel.
You don't trust anybody. That's your problem.
I trust my barber. What are you, his lawyer? Get out of here.
I would trust, if I had that haircut, I would trust my barber as well.
Let him sue me. Get rich like a normal person. That's what made this country.
So yeah.
Spider-Man wasn't attacking the city.
Just for you, Quay, I'm going to replay this.
He was trying to save it. That's slander.
It is not. I resent that. Slander is spoken. In print, it's libel.
There you go. Slander is spoken, in print is libel. So in this case, it would be libel. If you know, So you could do defamation or sue them for libel. I don't think it's that different, because libel is defamation, but in the written text. I'm thinking libel, publish a false statement that is damaging to reputation, a written defamation. So yeah. So thank you, Jameson, for educating me on that one, because I haven't forgotten that one in about like 10 years when I rewatched the movie. So yeah, J. Jonah Jameson, they go educating idiots like me since the 2000s. He's my favourite. Him and Lex Luthor, my two favourite villains. But yeah, guys, I guess there's not much more to say. They should be talking about the cost of living, poverty, instead of all this internal wrangling. It's true. Defamation, you have to prove your loss, and very much linked to how much money you've lost. Part of that could be asked to hand over your tax and accounts and bank statements. Yeah, I think, part of libel and slander is you got to prove the defamation angle of it. You have to prove the lie aspect of it. And I think them accusing her of fraud, she would have to somehow prove that it's kind of cost her in donations or whatever. I think this is complete shambles, and I think it's kind of shown these two for the idiots they are. I thought Sultana was a much slicker operator, but again, I saw in that interview with Navarra, she did seem a bit agitated. I think she wanted to push on with this party and start building momentum, because again, Polanski's doing quite well. I don't think it's really showing in the polls yet, but I think I think Polanski's got really big questions to answer, like why did he join the Lib Dems in 2015? Why did he then leave the Lib Dems much later on? Does he, where does his eco-populism really stem from? Is he saying the things that he thinks he needs to say to get elected, or does he genuinely believe these things? I don't know. So these are the things we need to figure out. So yeah, gang, not much more to add apart from this is just complete nonsense. It's just utter woke nonsense, honestly, because the co-leadership structure was dumb, and I think we're seeing that now. We're seeing how stupid it is, because there's no way of knowing who's actually telling the truth here until they start publishing documents. So I don't know what more to say, apart from, is there audio of this?
Yeah. Some of it is utter woke nonsense, I'm telling you.
There you go.
Is utter woke nonsense.
Because yeah, it's utter woke nonsense. Yeah. Thank you for post. Yeah, I don't know, guys. All right. Anyways, that's me done. I'll probably live stream. I'm probably try and live stream on Saturdays. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how things go. But ultimately, yeah, I'm ticked off more than anything. I'm ticked off more than anything, but got not much more to say. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.